guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for coming out. We really appreciate it. Gracias a Viva and ReArte. This space is I don't know how long it's been in the neighborhood, but everything I see in terms of Instagram and social media, thank you, Darren, it proves that it's a really integral part of the community, and there's nothing greater than being able to sell books in the community that you live and to work in that community. So my name is Yago, Cura. I run a very small press called Hinchas Press. If you're a fan of soccer, you know the Hinchas de Fútbol. That's what the press is named after. And what we do is we publish books, mostly zines, and we do what's needed. And 2 years ago, through some great fortune, I was able to come into and be part of a group called Project 1521. And we were meeting with Sandy Rodriguez, who's this amazing painter. She was teaching us how she sources pigments. She was teaching us about the cultural history of colors and what it meant what it meant to the Mexica, what it meant to Cortez, what it meant to, thank you. What it meant to a bunch of people like Bernardo de Sahagún, who was the person who, curated this 12-volume of the history of New Spain, right? And I noticed that there were a bunch of writers, and we needed a channel, we needed a viaduct, something to kind of get the work out. And so I was very fortunate to be able to work with the people in the group to publish this book, Tlacuilx, and just a little context, a little history. Los Tlacuilx were the scribes and that the Mexica had, and they worked and cultivated this vocation their whole lives, right? And when I was learning about conquest and the history, Cortez y todo, one of the things that really struck me was the 12-volume codex was actually written by the mismo Tlacuilx, who had witnessed, Cortez in 1521 and that whole thing. So it became very relevant to us, especially during the pandemic, how similar, some of the things that we were kind of dealing with, even though separated by 500 years, right? So we published this book, and it's been really a great ride. We try to do as many kind of events and programming that we can, and we're here tonight. We want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts. So before we start, we're going to do a little a prayer, and then I'm going to introduce people. I'll be emceeing, but all the contributors to this book right here are going to come through and read. I'm sending Viva some next week. She does. Right? I can send it to you from where I live, but that's not as cool as buying it in Viva's store, right? So let us know, we can make that happen. In the 90s, Los Delicados, and still today, traveling California, doing the spoken word thing, like meeting people every day, performing, rehearsing, doing all this stuff, all this really important work. And it shows. I'm indebted to Darren, to Adolfo, to everyone in Project 1521 because of the things I learned. I'm going to read his bio now, but I had to turn on my iPhone's light because I'm old. So I'm sorry, I don't mean to blind you, but no, and I wish I would, like the font, you know things as publisher, little small. For old fuckers like myself, it's a little small. Okay, this is the official bio, okay? Porque, Darren J. De Leon is an award-winning poet from San Bernardino. He earned his master's degree in English from San Francisco State University and has published poetry in numerous publications, including the University of Arizona Press, Tlacuilx, and 14 Hill. In 1996, he founded Los Mercados, Poetas del Sol, San Francisco's avant-garde leaders of the Latino spoken word scene. Please, folks, help me welcome Darren.
I'm taking about 18 minutes. I'm doing a piece today that is pretty old, but hasn't seen a lot of daylight lately. It's based on a Gary Webb article. Does anyone know who Gary Webb is? Gary Webb?
Is that Jose Mercury's?
Right. Pulitzer Prize winner. Article about the crack connection between the White House and the Bunkeras. So his expose on that was probably somewhere about 50,000 words. And what I did is I grabbed all those words and I pared it down to one poem. So there might be a couple of words that actually don't appear. You don't hear those words. But everything else comes directly from the article. This one's called CIA Love. Once upon a time, there were 5 young boys. Each carried a name under their jacket: Smith, Matt, Uzi, Weston, Greta. Their parents too busy working, never an eye out for them, much too tired to talk about life or pass on stories. So the boys roamed, called themselves Romeo. Beneath the bridge was their Rome, and between suicide doors, inside aluminum beer, through unfiltered frajos, traveling from graffiti blocks to Dipper Drunk Avenue. The magnum of force in index triggers dual mask of sorrow, crease now, hangover later. White t-shirts, elastic black belts, white old English on navy blue. In hell, I'll crush cans, bring my chemical sledge down one can at a time. Flatten the aluminum thin as sleeves, disfigure it white, crushed limestone in concrete. I'll bait hearts, hook metacarpals, sustain awakeability, rebirth of energy, a new cool, score glass pipe, tubes for ungodly use. Distrust the green, consecrate the Yago in backyard tubs. Nothing but my church for you and a monk shot with federal iron. Yellow and blue smoke, sparks grasp my ankle. I walk with flames shackled to my legs. I zombie up, then zombie down. Midnight scraping paint from the eaves, barefoot skating across the red ocean carpet, count the follicles of unwashed hair, kneel to the sunrise, pray for Thursday sleep. I am wasted before Friday, spent matches in a tray, depending on masonry walls for safety, carrying on conversation in Yoruba bullets, purchasing shoes in size 9mm, searching the dusk of my oily hands, dipping toes into brittle jars, reading the bottle 10,000 times, collecting the beer labels laminated to my uncle's liver, calculating kegs. One rail away from 3 straight days, folding aluminum, slick as a silk tie, breaking a G into 8 balls, 10 Franklins bent in my hand. To solve this dilemma, 200 bones, first I'll buy more sneakers, more t-shirts, knee-deep shorts and fiberglass fenders. Then I'll buy chains, an equalizer, 2 turntables, a matching pair of bag gloves. First, let me get a hit. Hold that aluminum, fiddle with the vial, roll the cube between thumb and palm. Flame the gangster future of smoke passing through brains on eggs. Eyes away from Nicaragua unknown. The magic cable tells what time the ball will explode. Damn the attestants. Tickle the black beauty brain. Cradle the peanut butter chunks. Separate cartridge from pin. Toss the ballpoint to the curbside. No need to document pipe rips and Van Halen tunnels as my body becomes a pool waiting for early divers to crack through glass tubes. My lungs twist, pecs balloon, Pee-wee to Incredible Hulk, a free base heart and games of baseball darts. Palm spring break, 18-inch woofer, little chocolate chick, naked ninjas in the galactic. If you can't hang, can't hang. Went to vacation, left on probation. My 18 with a bullet, 52 bullets in a week, 45 weeks to a year. Next year may never be seen. Tony Montana is silver screen, sliver dreams. Denim does nothing for me. Every lady loves my cool games, wants me to service each and every one. I always look for the first chingazo crowds of Fonzies, dreaming of Bruce Lee, while I have the real kung fu moves. Saturday crotches like leather on a hog, naked ladies stripped by the jacuzzi. I follow the bootylactic. This is how much they love me. From the CIA agency, land where my people died, from John Wayne's genocide, slaughtered on every mountainside. My shackled freedom cries and pleads. Who invented the cracker of the whip? Cola, Sincoca, trusty fields of beans, corporate speed needs to expand. Who invented the crack? In this corner, playing the neck with a rope, weighing in with the invention at 220 years. I hide behind diamonds, international trade, tariff traffic, Bible loopholes, syringes ready for exchange. I'll never escape the gently quality of how my fire works. Who invented the cracker of the whip? Look at freeways, dames for vans which divide the city, pit boulevards against streets, disrupt the unity of the elder statesmen, topped up against strip mall highways and asphalt without curves. That's the first half of CIA Lab.
Hey,
Yes. The second half is really intense.
the cliffhanger.
I'm going to read from the book. It's actually from Combat Rock by Clash. I'm famous familiar with that record. There's a song in there called Trap Jam. And so I changed I stayed with the cadence, but changed all the words. Now it has to deal with the border. It's called Border Jam. If we had the instrumental of that song to play, we'd sing them. Border Jam. Still in 18 minutes. Tonight, they stabbed all of my wounds and poured gasoline over my head. And who are you? Funky multinational caravan walking in the thousands. Bluetooth booming wireless headset. Entonces un chamaco de Oaxaca, sister raped in the valley of the Jeep. He cries and sleepless tears. Now he knows narco kindness, smack cocaine, hepatitis, and the body slashed, head toe. The machine gun in the closet, the nightmare of empty eyes in a border jam. The safety of crossing blistered feet, still he rise in a border jam. In earthquakes and wasted rivers, Facebook spreads like bees in order jam. The Utah Jazz are crystal white, Salt Lake City chopped at the knees in a border jam. Smuggling is what smugglers smuggle. Billionaires upon the hill can slide their nose across the mirror, wearing red hats of hate and torched ignorance. Once inside, the executive is frightened of diners and backfires. Now Gallias fight for freedom. Vulture used at courts in a border jam. Snakes cage up the babies in chain-link prison forts in a border jam. While inside he led us go where treacheries meet. The seekers grab at plastic bags filled with food to eat. America lacks empathy and kindness. It's intentional too in a border jam. Shaky ports of entries claim a thirst for the oil of Venezuela. The Twitter feed is abuzz with pictures of mi abuela. With pictures of mi abuela. With pictures of mi abuela. I thought I saw Edie Chacon. I thought I saw Edie's Chacon. Compas y hermanas, Edie's Chacon in a border jam. Oh. Now, that is movida I would love to see. Undocumented and proud of it. Border jam. Thank you.
Sarah Harris is a sound artist, master gardener, and journalist with more than 20 years of experience in Los Angeles, Mexico, and the Netherlands. She has produced award-winning work for Youth Radio Marketplace and hosted and produced here in the city. Sound installations include Oficios de la Calle at Museo de las Culturas Populares in Mexico City and ReGeneración, 3 generations of revolutionary ideology at the Vincent Price Art Museum in LA. Current projects include experimental documentary The Fragmentations Only Mean in 2022 with Jesse Lerner. Folks, Gloria, help me to welcome Sarah Harris, please.
Sounds good, people? I'm sure. How about that? Yeah. So, what I'm going to, you can all hear me without me doing this, but I like to work with my microphone, as you probably just understood from the introduction. So, being part of this project, 1521, and Sandy's energy and impetus of mapping spaces of love and life is really it's an honor, it's a privilege, and it's opened up an entire world, I think, for all of us here who are reading and presenting tonight. And I'm going to share from the book itself. Who has it?
There you go. That's my book.
All right. Wonderful. So I'm not going to read from the book itself of the poetry that I wrote. I'm going to read some poetry that I've written since we started this collaboration of love for que no seamos conquistadores. But I will read to you impetus and the love from which what you're about to hear has come from. To hold in my mind the portraits of the children lost in the same space as las diosas que protejan a sus jornadas al retorno, and I'll translate that for you. The goddesses who protect the eternal return for the children who lost their lives at border unjustifiably. This has kept my sense of honor, privilege, and responsibility in common and in check. As a mother, during these times of la pandemia, y las injusticias fronterizas. I think you all know what that means, huh? I don't feel like I need to translate that word. So, HEL.
You done?
Yep. Okay. So. The first piece I'd like to share with you, I wrote for my daughter. My daughter who is a survivor, my daughter who is going off to college, my daughter who has sucked the lifeblood out of me, and for whom I am eternally grateful to be a mother. And I think we all know what this feels and looks like, standing on the precipice of adulthood. And it reminds us that we are all standing on the precipice of adulthood. She made time stand still. She made time stand still. She tried to make time stand still against her will until the clock just ran out. She made time stand so still until the pin dropped. She made time stand still until it slipped through her hands. Welcome to. She made time to stand still, just long enough for the rough stuff to move faster past her until she stopped just in time. Armine. To stay on the theme of women in this world, this is a piece I wrote thinking about Sandra Cisneros and thinking about Roe v. Wade and thinking about state of affairs in this union that we hold and thinking about the relationship we all have with our bodies, meaning the bodies of ours. Day 12. I woke up dreaming. You fell asleep with your hand on your womb, and you didn't even notice. You fell asleep with your hand on my womb, and I woke up with my eyes shut. You fell asleep with your hand on my womb, and I watched you in the dark. You fell asleep, we both fell asleep with your hand on my womb, and it made me wonder how long we had laid that way. We fell asleep with your hand on my womb, and I replaced your hand with my own. This one I have to say thank you to Linda Ravenswood and Montano, who's here somewhere, hiding down high, the publisher of LA Press. This was published in this quarterly for the summer called The Chain. And of course that's also appropriate because it's a connection also to the ties that bind us all together as familia. And this one's called Seasonal Shift. For you. All of you. I did as you said. I moved the bed. I washed the walls. I scrubbed the floors. I opened all the doors and all the windows. The shift is extreme. The shift is fast. The seasons will not last for more than a shadow. Take a long look in the mirror. What do you see? Is me too much of you? What will you do when me is not you? What will you do? Okay, and this is my son. Am I good for time still? I have like
30 minutes.
all right.
Start the clock over again.
Yes, I had nothing to do. I got a radio mic. So, yes, the only thing that didn't come up in my bio is that I'm a master gardener. by trade and training, and I spend a lot of my time with plants, weeding and writing, and sometimes you find salvation in the garden. So I dedicate this to the land and to all of you, and I encourage all of you to just go out there and touch a plant tomorrow. Okay, when you wake up in the morning, just go. I'm touching a plant. I'm just going to think. Okay, so pitfalls, waterfalls, and thorns. The thicket is thick. The blind is deeper than your eye sees. Before you know it, up to your knees. The thorns are soft. The thorns are green until they are brown, all the way down to the roots. The step is high. The step is low, lower, and you remember it to be at night, frightening. Just a moment. The field is clear. The water falls faster than you remember it did before the storm. The thorns are hard. The thorns are old. Boldness lies in respect for protecting your hands. The earth is there. The roots are nearer than you remember them. To tend or not to tend. The ground is wet on all the leftover leaves and thickets unattended to. The upended old growth covers just enough ground to be lost and to be found. Thank you.
Ravenswood de Montano is a poet. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm going to read all the acronyms in her name because she worked very hard for those acronyms. BFA, MA, PhD, La Di fucking Ja, but yes, Dr. Ravenswood, poet and performance artist from Los Angeles, co-founding member of Melrose Poetry Bureau and founder, editor-in-chief of the Los Angeles Press. Linda's recent publications include XYLA Poets and Rock Waves, Slow Drags? Encantadora. Can you please list your press, the name of the press that published your recent book?
Encantadora, that's from I Wear Linen, Black Spring.
Black Spring Press Group. Encantadora, Linda Ravenswood is her latest book. Folks, please help me to welcome Linda. Ravenswood de Montano.
Friends, thank you so much for having me. Thank you. I have no idea what to do or read. Sorry, over here. Everything's so weird. I was going to read something and then disappeared. Oh, Darren, what do you do? Let's see if this can work. I have a couple books, but I don't know. They're not here in ReArte, and that makes sense.
Gotta talk to the proprietor.
So, how about I read this one about La Malinche?
Yeah.
If I can find her. We're all searching for her. Can I find her? How are you all night? You know what makes me so mad is the street here with the sewage smell and how this neighborhood doesn't deserve that. And it makes me furious with the flies. And Sarah's neighborhood was on fire. It's just a little north of here, and they can open windows. And who am I supposed to write to in LA to talk about this bullshit? It makes me really mad. Nat, I'm looking at you. Don't you know her?
City council.
City Council. I mean, people who live here are the people who built the city, who work the city, who deserve not to have sewage smell. It makes me so mad. Aren't you mad, Nat?
They just had a fight against gentrification last week. They just had a fight against gentrification last week. They wanted to take everyone out from this block, Chicago down a couple blocks, and pave a new building instead of fixing the problems that are already here. And only offer 5 apartments at an affordable low income level.
Maybe we should talk about that, and not poetry today. I don't know. To every place its own perks, but I have to talk to somebody about this because, it's just so unfair. Right, Yago?
Yeah.
Thank you for telling me. This is a poem. I don't know if it can do any good. It's called Names of Malinche, Names of Children. There is no such thing as a half-breed Onus Celestinas. So they call her complicated. Each Portli, Sihuaki, Ko'olelo, Chupal, the tongue, lengua, our interpreter, wife, concubine, spy, peacemaker, pacifier, mapmaker, collaborator, translator, messenger, captive girl, a woman, a nahua, a slave, indigenous, chattel, grijalva, Xicalanga, Yucateca, princess, sing it. Grijalva, Xicalanga, Yucateca, princess. She's our mother. Here, look at her San Martin. He clutches her like a heat-colored horseshoe, black dog, prickly pear, un hijo de pitaya roja. His claws, his wood limb, see what burden is the new star, crumbling and cracking, everything around him, everyone running. Is it a flood? Is it locust? No one stops to see his blue eyes, everyone afraid of the ingression, the power of the nascent explosion. The new city on the hill sends mudslides below. Land bursts, new civilizations covering a beautiful raza. See Martin in his mother's clutch, how they interpret his face like an alien, but like new beauty on mountain. See how his father paces back and forth in the hallway. Is my son? Can it be my son? Maybe it's not my son. Maybe it's the son of the water or the waves. Maybe it's a son. Maybe it's a girl. Oh, right, there's a boat in the harbor. Maybe I can get home by hurry. Maybe I never knew that woman. Anyway, maybe it was a cacahuate. I don't know. I'm allergic to these flores nativos. Please get me out of here. What is a sun anyway? Is it indigenous? Is it Spanglish? Don't say bocha. They forget us in the West. Beyond border, mexica, mestiza, hijas de la piedad. Aquí, there is a half earth, madre tierra, hija de Nepantla. Don't turn us away, sus hijas imaculadas. There's no such thing as a half-breed human. Look, we are the new star on the tongue. So should I read one more piece, you think?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Oh, sí,
I got 2, one for the drogas and one for the... So this is called pitaya roja, or in Latin, Hylocereus. It's for you, Sara, because it's plants. We walk ancestor shellways by midnight liquor stores, pitaya roja. Passing cars of women off to work in the desert cold. Little flamehead, little drop of la ribera. It's said in heaven, they talk about you like they talk about the weather. On the street, they say your name, like a reason for living. They show me a leathery doll in open stalls. I throw my head around. This is what you're talking about? Pitaya roja. I can never know you this way. I cannot revere you this way. How uncles do. You who changed dirt to wine. Because of you, we come into silk, your leather hair, your droplet of dog head, desert candy, open-eyed, rock, soft rock, red-eyed, miracle red bush, baby, desert ice. I can never know you. There's a story of the Hylocereus, how she bobbled on the milk of heaven and tributaries of Orion's belt. She scooped vermilion sky. and fashed sand craters and cinnabar birth canals to deposit her delicacy like turtle eggs in the rough at Los Barriles. Look, she's flying! Oh, great mudclod! Oh, bloody mouth! Along the Malecon we creep in heat and history. White stucco roads glance to the cemetery, the end of all these turning. Those lived bodies, those places they had named. Instead of cempasúchil or sunflowers, I leave Pitaya Roja, the red mouth rose at the graves of my ancestors. Flores del Cabo, ojos rojos. A few letter pairs for everything that can never be known. Thank you so much to ReArte and to the community. I return you to Yago.
What we're bringing up is Armine Iknadossian. I always want to say Iknadossian because you're a writer. And I'm like, Iknadossian, and now Iknadossian for Iknadossian. But to us as arms, Armine has been born in Beirut, Lebanon. And, oh, sorry, I should put on my glasses if I want this to work. Go stand out there and take that with.
Promote the podcast.
Yes, sir.
You got to have a good conversation with Armine.
And immigrated to the United States in 1974 to escape the Civil War. He's the author of All That Wasted Fruit, Main Street Rag Press, okay? A collection of poems about the sacred feminine. She earned an MFA from Antioch University. Armine teaches high school English and serves on the advisory board of the International Armenian Literary Association, where she mentors emerging poets. Hell, yes, she does. She also teaches writing online for Surprise Line. That's still true? Okay, screw that. Don't, just scratch that. She has received fellowships from Ottawa Arts, the Los Angeles Writing Project, and for Arts. Please help me welcome Armine Iknadossian.
You're good. Inky. My students used to call me Inky, Miss Inky. So, yeah. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited. So happy to be part of this. I was asked by Adolfo to be a part of this, even though I am not Latina. Or, I grew up in Southern California, so maybe that automatically made me Latina adjacent. But and I teach like 99% of my students, so they teach me a lot. And anyway, I'm happy to be here. I'm here from Tlacuilx. In quarantine. This is what we publish. Please buy it. Buy it. Support your local bookstores. Support small independent bookstores like this one. Buy something. This is for Being in the Heart. It's a recipe dedicated to 16-year-old Juan de Leon Gutierrez, 7-year-old Jacqueline Val Maquin, 8-year-old Felipe Gomez Alonso, 2-year-old Wilmer Josue Ramirez Vasquez, 16-year-old Carlos Hernandez Vasquez, 10-month-old Marie Juarez, and 10-year-old Darlene Cristabel Cordova Valle, who all died in the custody of U.S. Customs and Border Protection. For Pain in the Heart, a recipe. Take the juice of the Enedina ascapanzua, an herb that grows near anthills. Mix with gold leaf, resin from amber, shadings from turquoise, red coral, ochre. Kill a stag with your bare hands. Slice its chest open. Pull out the sting heart still beating. Start a fire with witch hazel and rush. Roast the stabbed heart till charred, burnt black. Slice off a piece of the heart. Mix all with water. Sip the potion that tastes like soil. Shimmers like 24-karat starlight. Taste the blues and reds. The blood and marrow of the sacrificial animal. The red ants crawling through your ventricles will disappear, then your chest will open, your fists will unclench, and your hands will transform into desert clouds. And I have another poem in here, I won't read it, but I will read the interstitial. because it's still going on today, right now. Colonization, destruction, genocide is happening as we sit here. The shame and reality of the inhuman treatment of refugees at the U.S. border town, apartheid in Israel, genocide in Myanmar, Armenia's sovereignty being threatened by Turkey and Azerbaijan, still today, right now, black citizens being murdered by police in the U.S., indigenous women missing in large numbers and nothing being done about it, maquiladora workers being kidnapped and killed in Juarez. And we look back to the history of North and South America 500 years ago, we see the same actions and motivations that drive imperialism today all over the world, victimizing indigenous peoples, burning their sacred texts, trying to erase the Nahuatl language, making it illegal to write, paint, make medicine. As writers and artists, we must come together to destroy imperialist mindsets, white supremacy, and colonialism. We have to come together to honor the artists and scribes who came before us, to light up the legacy in the dark room of ignorance. Being unsilenced, speaking truth to power, giving back to people who are from this land. These themes and actions are more important than ever. I especially relate, I'll skip that part. So that's it, yeah, that's all I want to read. And I'll read a couple more. This is also from Nichas Press, ex-LA poets. Yago, do they have a book here?
They do. Actually,
I hope so.
I have to re-up, but they've been telling me.
So, email Yago if you're interested. Yago does 10 poets from LA, 10 female poets, because he is a feminist rock star. That's me. And I'm so honored to be chosen by Yago, because I know he's an astute reader. So I'll read. This is my history. I come from Lebanon, which 9 months after I was born, the Civil War broke out, and we had to move here. We lost everything, and had to restart from scratch. So this is called Resident Alien, a memoir in verse. And we talk about colonialism, we talk about French and the Middle East, and what's going on right now in France with the 17-year-old young man who was shot by police. It's all just constantly, it's growing. So this is Resident Alien, a memoir in verse. 1. The bed of valley was a patchwork of orange and olive trees. Time and again, war saw its own becoming. Time again, a girl was born. During the first trimester, before the sexes mutated into its final evocation, mother craved sweets and bitters alike, like shafts of moonlight, like tangled bed sheets, like ripped stockings and fault lines. 2. Mother's water broke before Watergate. It became apparent Beirut would have the same fate, like trying to run underwater, childhood's awkward and slow, but war makes sure to make men out of little girls. 3. The morning after curfew, I sit between my parents. We drive through West Beirut. We need cash for diapers, formula, groceries. Joy follows death to the back room. They make a baby and call it Beirut. Even in this city of incredulity, Derrida lives in the asphalt without irony. Men who fear mold more than RPGs, that kind of pathology. Sons and daughters of Khalil, we are called Beirut Seas because we live like we die, with eyes wide open, not like drunken poets, but more civilized, like intentional brush fires. Thank you, everybody.
You have to have one more, Armine? You have 3 minutes, or...
Yeah.
You got 3.5 minutes?
One more. One more. Love you.
I like to leave them wanting more. But I'll read Lament. This is Lament, and I dedicated it, for this book, I dedicated it to Black Lives Matter. Here it is. Thank you, everybody. Again, thank you, Yago. Thank you, ReArte, and the community. And dead songs lie on the floor, flat like palm leaves. I hold the green hands and weep from my mouth. I was born from women ground into flour, in a country with so much solemn wheat. Our loads are heavy with disaster. We make books from bread to a hand and hold water to sprinkle the last page, keep it wet with worry. Without our songs, who would we be? What will our last page say with an alphabet of blackened teeth? We serve our songs under aspic and slice summons so you know what you are about to eat. Be the right song, lift the white sheet off our wailing. Here is a song for your arthritic hands. All those years the moon's face was a white sheet. I sat silent in the heat, turned dark like a piece of fruit. Who will hurl their songs to the sky flat as a failed promise? What will we do now with so many friends? We cannot count the daggers. Thank you.
Let me tell you a little bit about Gloria Enedina Alvarez. She embodies elegance and grace. Her work examines life in all its turbulence and glory. Chicana poet, intermedia artist, playwright, librettist, translator, curator, co-founder of many artist organizations, mentor to generations of artists, teaches creative writing, has won numerous awards for poetry, librettos, and plays that have been published and performed in the US, Latin America, and Europe. Publications include Emerging in Madre Ornanes, La Excuse Poetry Collection in English and Spanish, and Spoken Word CD, Instagram. Along with anthologies and periodicals, please help me welcome Gloria Enedina Alvarez.
Comenzamos, familia. It's so good to be here. Thank you for existing, the space, each one of you. I've missed everybody so much. Oh my God, and what you were saying, so fortunate to come upon everybody that's here and, you know, the convio that we had over the last couple of years. Okay.
5 years. 5 years. 5 years. We first met in 2019.
Wow.
I stopped on 3.
Yeah, did you, I guess maybe you'll talk about that at some point, because you're the one that brought us together, but yeah, we were actually going to write essays, and then as things would happen, we're all poets, so we ended up writing, you know, the pandemic, the lockdown, the poetry kicked in, the inspiration. So, and I know for myself, the writing changed so much, and when they were editing it, they were like, oh my God, is that you? it just like shrank, you know, it just like, so it's one of the first. Nostalgia's precise memory, no longer enduring and inescapable, yet profound and courageous, accurate as death. This is not in the book, it's the Teoría en agua, the energy centered around the heart. Tlacuilx wit emanates the divine. Aguamiel, madre de pulque y de tequila, sacred beverage, nectar de verdad y de influence. Teoría. No other will touch her. Tongue of fire, sacred depths of Aguamiel, moonless halo. Her waist thickens, pierced for bloodletting. Her tongue awaits, bleeds, ofrenda, agua dulce. A sweetwater dance overturns thorns, Armine, rattle songs clap in time, echo the voices of rose pressed light. And back to, we just looked through the last 10 years. The cold hand silence colors the season. Blank lips at a distance stretch unpronounced name. An ocean carried washes over, then breathes forgiveness from skin, erased like fistful of us.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. The voice like sun in waking dreams, not yet dreams wander, not lost walking along shadows, stolen in the search beyond sealed heart, ear over empty chest, hand pressed to him. The arc of the sky, the zigzag that wanders, it's to the corners that pray for the sprinkled salt of day, days of light like water and vapors us the Milky Way. They season our lives and carry us inside till we thread our own way. Por fuerza, arco de luz inunda, taladra rayos serpiente, dentro el corazón estado. Unos sueñan sin voces, otros entonan diluvio en castillos de ruido, delirio o palabras. Chaparrón de fuego, corazón de granoso duerme el alma, pues se sala en coyotes de suspiro. I'm looking for the last one. Maybe that needed to be the last one. Muchísimas gracias.
I'm going to just read 3 poems. My name is Yago, Cura. I publish Tlacuilx and Excellent Poets, and work for the city. I'm a city slob, and I'm a professional nerd, and I really enjoy the work that I do. Yeah. So, yes, ma'am.
Are you a librarian?
I actually am a librarian. I work in the city as a librarian. It's great work. It's great work. Right. I really love it. I've mostly worked in South Central Los Angeles. Like I'm an East Coast douchebag, so for me, South Central Los Angeles is very foreign, you know. And so to work there and to be able to survive there and be able to thrive there, for me is a real accomplishment. And so thank you. I'm working out in Hyde Park, on Florence and Van Ness, between Crenshaw and Western. Come through whenever you like. Actually, I do want to say this. On the 22nd, we're doing a reading there called Miriam's Garden. So like I work at a branch named after the first African-American librarian hired by the LAPL. Her name was Miriam Matthews. Brilliant woman. This is the thing that I love about Miriam Matthews. She was instrumental in getting a plaque at Boyle, talking about how many Afro-Mexicans were part of the original founders of Los Angeles. See, I had no idea.
That was her? She did that?
She was one of the people instrumental. So for me, it's super important because, again, like I'm from the East Coast. I'm thinking LA is founded by Irish people, and that's clearly not the case at all. But you don't know that if you live on the East Coast, right? You just, again, it's just Irish people and everyone else. It's like, no. So yeah, it's great work. So, you know, I think everyone right now is feeling a little broke. And I think that's nice. It puts us all on the same footing. It's really hard to save money. I don't know if you feel the same way. I can't save a fucking dollar to save my life. And, you know, it's one thing for me or for us, we're still working, but it's another thing for people on mixed income, like my folks. So, I wrote this a couple of years ago. It's called Harkin Endless Boxes. Aren't debt collectors just so smug with your account innards on their screens? Don't they just exude Lion of Judah drool? Aren't they just so darn cavalier with selections from their playbook for terrorists when you are the subject of the monograph? Querying you on how you disperse your sesame sums? Asking you to fork over your most treasured sequences? The nerve, the unfettered nerve, diluting my morning with such as clownery, such premeditated, albeit disjointed, ire arousal? My dear sir, madams, my mobile phone is not a fuchsia vibrator to be ribbed or unribbed at your disposition. I have willfully engaged in a seesaw of usury with you. This is true. But this does not mean I must respect your threshold for insubordination or privilege you pricks speaking ill of my iceberg. Thank you. Just a little fun, something fun. So, I wrote a collection with a friend of soccer poems to soccer players. And I don't know when I get the idea. Poetry is like a niche thing. It doesn't sell too many books. But I'm very proud of work. However, I have a friend who teaches at Claremont. He teaches global history of soccer. And he's like, hey, there's no fucking Mexicans in your book, bro. And I was like, Enedina! And he was absolutely... Now here, let me give you context. Not only am I an East Coast douchebag, my parents are arrogant Argentines. So here's how I decided to rectify that. I decided to write a super homoerotic poem. It's called Oda al Memo Ochoa. Memo, 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 memo. To start this ode with your dime-sized ringlets seems perverse, gratuitous, so I won't mention them. Or your aquiline nose and acute bone structure. You're so handsome that you can sell razor blades and beer, unrepentantly, simultaneously, and there's even talk of your fine ass in 2026. You saved Mexico's ass so many times it's become a meme uruburus, a salient instance that keeps writing itself until it becomes herald of self. Ochoa's been down on petty kicks galore. Like in 2018, single-handedly denied the entire German Luftwaffe an equalizer goal, and so Germany could not find purchase of a goal against Mexico once Chucky Lozano's death cutback inside pocket goal was launched. Ochoa withstood those Teutonic barrages of bluster by Cruz and Kimmich and Blitzkrieg shit and weathered them like some me vale verga Valkyrie on Vicodin and Viagra. Us Socrates, we still call the victory a Hilda. Memo, 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 memo. They gave you Golden Glove way for how you denied Los Gringos their lucre and their lucra, in the 2019 Copa de Oro. But really, it's what you denied hold with that guilty that makes us want to chant your name and cry like fools with rusty splinters barbed around our hearts. How you tackled that Lewandowski now still makes me misty in my mind's hoo-ha, broski. I'm like, you went full attention on that one. But now before, I'm agando as if you were going to go to the opposite pole. But isn't that always the game? Fake right, go left, or is it fake left, go right? My favorite game you've given us is 2014 stunning denial of any Brazilian fireworks bullshit because you literally shut Neymar's shit down both times he tried to be cute. The first time, with that surreptitious hair, and the second time, when he was able to lower a Hail Mary Centro with his Brazilian pecho frio and more nuestro Ochoa 10 feet away, only to find Ochoa unstirred and resolute. Like wall that survived centuries of victorious dust. Ochoa even prevented a Da Silva Sasso death ray that came at him like a flying fist from a rogue martial arts district. It was at that World Cup that you centered your keystone and ascended your moon tool. Memo, 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 memo. Thank you guys. I'm not gonna church that. Number two, the people that I met, and one of them is Adolfo Guzman-Lopez. I'm not gonna say shit about this man except that he's a poet, journalist.
So there are, I'm going to evoke
because while we were meeting as this collective, as this group in Sandy Rodriguez's studio in Mar Vista, we were interacting, talking about the arrival of Guzman-Lopez in 1519. We started meeting in 2019. We were very aware of the 500 years of that. We even kind of went back and traced, on this date he arrived in, the Yucatan Peninsula and, encountered that shipwrecked Spaniard who had learned the Mayan languages and was able to, kind of translate, and then they met, Doña Marina and everything. So we were also aware that 1521 was coming up, right? And the final defeat of the Mission Army. We're trying to get away from the word conquest, right? Trying to get away from that. That's the word they used for a long time. So I'm going to talk about three spaces. Sandy's studio and Vista, with that nice breeze coming down. You've been to Mar Vista, looks like there's a breeze outside. Maybe come in. The other space is in, I believe, 1576, in what is called Tlacuilx, the colegio there, where a group of dozens of scribes had been working on for several years an encyclopedia, the 14 Codex, an encyclopedia of everything that had existed before conquest. Okay, let's come up with another word for the time being. I guess it's conquest in brackets, right? So they're there. The building's made out of that black volcanic rock that everything in Mexico City's made out of, right? But remember, it's 1576. It's more than 50 years after the victory of the Spaniards. So these scribes, let's just say they were in their 20s, 30s, probably more than that, right? They didn't know a world. They were in charge, right? Where indigenous culture was untouched, right? The world they knew was this world where their temples were toppled, where their parents and grandparents were the only ones who knew of that world, right? All right, so that Colegio in Tlacuilx, 1576, there's a pandemic. They decided to stay inside the building, to keep working on the encyclopedia, on the 14 Codex. They're only able to use black ink because they are not able to bring the colored inks into the room, right? So 1576, pandemic. The scribes are forced to hunker down, to isolate, to see outside. That's death happening, right? And the scribes are compelled to keep creating, keep remembering, keep asserting that their culture is alive, right? That's what they're doing. So 1576, the Colegio. Sandy's studio in Mar Vista, 2018. The third space I want to talk about, and I'll just, third space I want to talk about is my grandparents' apartment in Tlacuilx, which moved into in 1967, and which I visited last year as the family was about to sell it. And I was able, you can't get it all tilted over, but I was able to get 117 55 records out of there. There's a closet that still had stuff in there. And so I was able to get some of those records. So let me just give you a little bit of a taste of some of that music. So what you need to know about the apartment in Tlacuilx is that the Guzman family was made up of 7 brothers and sisters, the 2 parents, Galo and Maria, all from a very small town in Veracruz called Chavite, really just a collection of houses, a hamlet, right? And they eventually moved to Cerro Azul, and then to Mexico City in the mid-50s. So my father was a second child. And he turned 17 in, I think it was 1956, so very traditional music, very much the classics, you know. Porque negrete, Pedro Infante, you know, the stuff that's classical, traditional Mexican music. And sure enough, my father ends up writing songs, fancies himself like a ranchera singer, you know, dreams, right? He has his dreams. His younger brother, Pedro, was 17, right around 1964. He's a rock and roller, right? So my dad is not a rock and roller, you know, still very much ranchera, but you know, my uncle Pedro ends up joining this band that had already existed for a couple years called Los Sputnik.
Que te acuerdes bien todo aquello de nuestro amor. Tú y yo, el amor, las estrellas y la noche, los recuerdos son así.
So, as you know, anybody saw that Netflix documentary, Pan Todo, you know, that, you know, rock takes over in Latin America in the 60s. First it's kind of cover songs and the bands kind of do a lot of cover music, but then there's a lot of homegrown stuff, right? So these records reflect some of that. All right, so back to 2019 and Sandy Rodriguez's studio. Gold on mulberry and fig fibers. Gold is a footprint on the sloping mass on the paper. See the bird hold a drop. It's a tear, una lágrima, that'll drop into the word turned wave. All other colors pale. The blues you see from the center of the earth. On this painting, we hit Oaxaca coast as waves. So little. Gold was supposed to heal. Gold rose like steam away from our hands. Grandmothers stand on both sides. Grandmothers heal with water, with shields, a star. The borders pulse like the neon on Avenida Revolucion in the 90s. Gold is such a small part of what we have to give, and so much of what you want to take. All right, thank you. So to me, picturing those scribes in the 50s, 70s, in Tlacuilx, made me realize that, wow, the scribes were like Chicanos, right? They were really like Chicanos in that they were really relying or trying to remember the culture of their parents and grandparents and really transform it and use it to assert their own identity in their time, right? We look at each other. The crisis of truth leads us to question, leads us to wonder whether words have power, leads us to realize words have power. Words lift the dead from burial, make the sun rise. Words allow us to see the Tlacuilx in the harvest shelters of volcanic rock. They write, they paint, they choose the ink. Sometimes it's red, sometimes it's black. Made of brown stone, made of brown roots, made of brown petals. Light enough to be taken by the wind and dropped on the channels that are no longer there. The channels choked by concrete to the sea. Temple stones piled, the sickness, mothers dead, the decoders of the dreams dead. Yago and I have conversations about being from LA, and he's still working through it, as you can tell. I'm trying to help you out, Yago. So I have had the blessing of living in LA for 23 years and being a reporter in LA. So I have witnessed history, seen people in their highest moments and their lowest moments, and had the very difficult task of talking to them and asking them to express what those high moments have been, what their low moments have been, and putting it together into news reports and sending them off. So I don't know. I'm from here, but what the fuck? Neither was Ruben Salazar, neither was Buddy Mason, neither was Biddy Mason, neither was lots of other people. And I don't care, people who are from here, great. I think in the conversations between the people who are from here and the people from elsewhere, and the people from elsewhere just need to come with, open mind and open heart and respect, and I think that's what we expect from people who are not from here. And so that those conversations about here and other places and here can take place. This is, I think I want you to think about when you listen to the song is that these 117 45s were all bought in Mexico City. They were all bought between, right now, I want to say 1963, 64, and 1975, more or less. And they were listened to by my aunts and uncles in that apartment in Mexico City. There are records in Spanish, in English. There's American rock and roll. There's Mexican rock and roll. There's traditional music. And one of the things I want to do is, people have said, oh, well, hey, they're worth a lot of money, but it's a collection that was intended to be together and tells a story together, right? So I think that's what we as Tlacuilx are striving to, is to bring, those 1,000, 2,000, tens of thousands of points of view together and reflect back and take in as much as possible, so that we can create a respectful, compassionate, empathetic society that respects the dignity of all people.